Imagine waiting like 20 agonizing years for an invitation to the biggest, most exclusive party on Earth.
Oh, that sounds miserable.
Right. For 2 decades, you've basically been standing out on the street in the freezing cold. You're watching everyone else dance, just peering through the frosted glass.
Yeah.
And then finally, that gold-embossed invitation with your name on it arrives. But here's the thing. When you finally walk through those doors, you aren't there to politely mingle or, sip a cocktail and stand quietly by the wall.
Not at all.
You are there to absolutely wreck the buffet. You're going to knock over the ice sculpture and completely crash the dance floor. You are there to make sure every single person in the room remembers exactly who you are.
I mean, the imagery works, but the reality is actually much grittier.
How sad.
Well, when you look at the 2026 Czechia World Cup squad, they aren't just crashing the party for the sake of making a scene. They are arriving to systematically disrupt it.
Wow.
Yeah. This team has essentially weaponized the concept of making their opponents deeply physically uncomfortable.
I love that. Welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today, we are putting the 2026 Czechia national team under the microscope.
And they are affectionately known by their fans as the Rarober or the Naroak, right?
Exactly. And we've pulled together a massive stack of sources for you. We're looking at FIFA tactical blueprints, deep historical databases, and, some incredibly spicy club-level drama reports.
Oh, the drama is real.
It really is. We've also got the latest bookmaker odds.
It's a fascinating collection of data, honestly. Because this team is fundamentally a walking contradiction.
Right.
We are in an era of international football that is completely obsessed with technical finesse. High possession, intricate passing networks, that sort of thing.
A beautiful game.
Exactly. And right in the middle of that, you have a Czechia squad built almost entirely on sheer physical dominance.
Yeah.
Just towering height and psychological warfare.
So our mission today is to extract the vital nuggets of knowledge from all these sources. We're going to dissect the completely chaotic qualification path.
Chaos is the perfect word for it.
Yeah. And we'll look at their unapologetic bruising play style, the veteran stalwarts holding the defensive line, and the teenage prodigens waiting in the wings. Plus, we'll map out their exact perilous path through Group A.
It's going to be quite the journey.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because you really can't understand the mindset of this team without looking at the brutal reality of a 2-decade World Cup drought.
That 20-year absence is the defining psychological weight on this entire operation.
It has to be.
It is. Competing as an independent nation since 1993, Czechia hasn't set foot in a World Cup since the 2006 tournament in Germany.
That is a long time.
To put that in perspective, there are players in the current squad who weren't even born the last time their country played on this stage.
Wait, really? That is wild.
Yeah. And that absence is incredibly heavy when you look at the historical pedigree. I mean, their predecessor, Czechoslovakia, reached the World Cup final twice.
In 1934 and 1962, right?
Exactly. And they won the European Championship in 1976. So there is this deep generational expectation of greatness in this country. And modern iterations of the team have continually failed to meet it.
And even that 2006 appearance wasn't the triumphant return to glory people remember it being.
Not at all.
The historical databases remind us they started with a brilliant 3-0 win against the United States. Everyone thought, the golden generation was back.
Right, the hype was real.
But then immediate defeats to Ghana and Italy saw them crashing out in the group stage.
Just completely falling apart.
Yeah. So the pressure to get back to the World Cup and actually prove they belong there has been compounding for 20 years. And frankly, looking at their 2026 UEFA Group L qualification campaign, it looked for a long time like the drought was going to hit 24 years.
Oh, absolutely. The reports here called their early campaign a disaster.
A total disaster.
It was structurally and psychologically broken. They were drawn into Group L alongside Croatia, the Faroe Islands, Montenegro, and Gibraltar.
Okay, so on paper, Croatia is the clear favorite.
Right, but Czechia should comfortably take the second spot. Instead, while Croatia absolutely dominated the group, finishing with 22 points and a plus 22 goal difference, Czechia stumbled severely.
This was under their former manager, Ivan Hasek, right?
Yes, exactly.
I'm looking at the results under Hasek, and they are wild. They suffer a 5-1 thrashing away to Croatia in Osijek, which, is bad but understandable against a top-tier side.
Sure.
But the absolute lowest point, the moment the sources indicate the entire nation basically hit the panic button, was a shocking 2-1 defeat away to the Faroe Islands.
Yeah, that was the breaking point.
Losing to a micronation in a World Cup qualifier? I mean, for a nation with Czechia's footballing history, that is the kind of result that sparks parliamentary debates.
It really did send shockwaves.
Mm.
The Faroe Islands match exposed every single flaw in Hašek's system. They were disjointed. They lacked a clear method for breaking down a stubborn defense.
And defensively.
Defensively, they were entirely vulnerable to simple counterattacks. And on top of that, disciplinary issues were flaring up.
Oh, right.
Key players like Vladimir Kufal and Ladislav Krejci were serving suspensions for incredibly reckless tackles. The team had just lost its tactical identity and its emotional discipline.
So that 2-1 loss basically cost Ivan Hašek his job in late 2025.
It did.
And the man the Czech FA brought in to replace him is easily one of the most fascinating characters in this entire deep dive.
Miroslav Kubek.
Yes. The profile on him is incredible. He is 74, turning 75 this year. That makes him the oldest manager at the 2026 World Cup.
Which is a crazy stat on its own.
But the part that really stands out is his career path. He didn't come up through the elite academies. He actually worked as an insurance broker until he was in his 50s.
Which is an incredibly telling detail about how he views the game of football.
How so?
Well, Kubek wasn't handed elite jobs. He ground his way up through the lower, highly physical leagues of Czech football, all while assessing literal financial risk for a living.
And that makes so much sense.
Right. He understands risk mitigation on a granular level.
Uh-huh.
And he understands the domestic game perfectly, having finally won the Czech First League with Viktoria Plzeň back in 2015.
Okay.
So when he took over the national team in December 2025, his mandate wasn't to build some long-term project. It was to salvage the wreckage and get the team to North America.
I read that and instantly thought of a corporate crisis manager.
That is a great comparison.
You know the scenario. A company is hemorrhaging cash, the stock is tanking, morale is non-existent. So the board brings in this grizzled, no-nonsense veteran.
Right.
He isn't there to design a flashy new logo or give speeches about synergy or innovation. He is there to stop the bleeding, lay off the underperformers, lock the doors, and save the fiscal year by any means necessary.
That is the exact dynamic. Kubek didn't arrive promising beautiful, expansive, possession-based football.
Because he knew he couldn't deliver it.
Exactly. He knew he didn't have the time or the personnel for that. He came in to restore absolute order. And one of his first, most crucial moves was assembling a prestigious advisory board.
Oh, yeah. Consisting of absolute Czech legends, right?
Yep. Zdeněk Grgera, Pavel Nedvěd, and Emil Šedek.
Okay, what's the strategic value there? Why bring in former superstars when you are the manager? Doesn't that risk undermining your own authority in the locker room?
Not if you use them correctly. You see, Kubek recognized that the team's psychology was completely shattered after that Faroe Islands defeat.
Right, their confidence was gone.
By bringing in Nedvěd, who is a Ballon d'Or winner, and Grgera, he instantly lent massive credibility to his regime.
I see.
These are men who know what it takes to win at the highest international level. It was a calculated move to rebuild the team's fractured psychology and reinstill a sense of national pride. He essentially told the current players, well, you answer to the history of this shirt now.
And they needed every ounce of that psychological reinforcement because, having scraped through to finish second in Group L, they were thrown into the UEFA playoff crucible.
A total pressure cooker.
And reading the play-by-play of these playoff matches, it reads less like a sporting event and more like a psychological thriller where both teams are just trying to survive the night.
The playoffs were the ultimate litmus test for Kubek's crisis management. In the semifinal, they were drawn away against the Republic of Ireland.
Okay.
And within the first hour, Czechia went down 2-0.
Man, under Hašek, a 2-goal deficit away from home probably results in a total collapse. You see heads drop, the shape falls apart, and it ends 4-0.
Exactly. But under Kubek, the structural discipline held. They didn't panic.
They just stuck to the plan.
Yeah, they clawed their way back, largely exploiting set pieces, to force a 2-2 draw after 120 exhausted minutes. And then they won the penalty shootout 4-3.
Which is an insane pressure cooker to survive, but the reward for surviving is that you have to do it all over again in the final.
Yep.
This time against Denmark, right there in Prague at the Stadion Letna. The reports describe this game as a brutal, physical, 120-minute war of attrition.
It was a bloodbath, tactically speaking.
Denmark takes lead, Czechia pulls it back, Denmark scores again, Czechia pulls it back again, it ends 2-2, we go to another shootout.
And Czechia wins it 3-1.
With midfielder Michal Sedilek stepping up to take the decisive penalty, he completely freezes Mads Hermansen, the Danish keeper, and sends him the wrong way.
Kubek actually gave a fascinating interview to FIFA about that specific moment.
Oh, what did he say?
He was asked what was going through his head when Sedilek, who was relatively young, stepped up with the weight of a 20-year drought on his shoulders.
I would be terrified.
Kubek said his only feeling was certainty.
Certainty, wow.
Yeah, he knew Sedilek had the technical repetition down. The only variable was the mental handling of the pressure, and Sedilek's execution was flawless. It speaks volumes about the mental conditioning and risk mitigation environment Kubek installed in a matter of months.
Okay, I have to push back on this narrative a bit.
Sure.
As a fan, watching back-to-back penalty shootout wins is incredible television. It's dramatic, it's emotional. But if we are looking at this analytically, isn't relying on penalty shootouts to qualify a massive red flag?
What do you mean?
If you are consistently drawing 2-2 and failing to put teams away in regular time, doesn't that suggest your underlying tactical system is deeply flawed? I mean, a penalty shootout is essentially a coin flip. Building a World Cup strategy around a coin flip feels like madness.
It's a very common critique, and statistically, you are right to be skeptical of relying on penalties. But here's the counter-argument, and it's rooted in game theory.
Okay, let's hear it.
In knockout tournament football, survival is the only metric that truly matters. Winning on penalties isn't a sign of technical dominance, but consistently winning shootouts is not a coin flip.
You don't think so?
No. It is the ultimate indicator of psychological resilience and preparation. The fact that they can go down a goal, not abandon their shape, force the game to 120 minutes, and then calmly execute under immense pressure means Kubek has designed a system built specifically not to dominate, but to endure.
Endure is the right word. Let's look at exactly how they're doing that on the pitch, because this leads us into the tactical blueprint.
Yes.
The sources refer to the core of this team as the physical spine. We are looking at a system that lines up nominally as a 3-4-2-1 formation, but the absolute second they lose possession of the ball, it snaps into a rigid 5-4-1 low block.
Right. And for those who might not spend their weekends analyzing tactical whiteboards, let's explain what a low block actually looks like mechanically.
Please do.
When a team plays a low block, they aren't trying to win the ball back high up the pitch near the opponent's goal. Instead, all 11 players retreat deep into their own half.
Just totally dropping back.
Yeah, exactly. They form two tight horizontal lines, a back line of 5 defenders and a midfield line of 4 players positioned just a few yards ahead of them. The distance between those two lines is incredibly compressed, often no more than 10 to 15 yards.
So you're essentially parking a bus across the top of your own penalty box. You are explicitly telling the other team, we concede the middle of the pitch. Come and try to break through this wall.
Precisely. The mechanical goal of a 5-4-1 low block is to deny space in the most dangerous areas of the pitch, which is the center.
Right.
If an opponent wants to pass through you, they have to thread the needle through 9 tightly packed players. It forces the opposition to endlessly cycle the ball in non-threatening areas, just hoping the defending team loses focus and steps out of position.
And the stats from the UEFA qualifying campaign highlight how intensely Czechia leans into this strategy.
Oh, the numbers are staggering.
The strengths of this team are painfully clear, right? Raw physicality, set pieces, and survival instincts. But the weaknesses are glaring. They have a severe lack of technical playmakers in the midfield, and they rely heavily on one striker, Patrick Schick, to actually put the ball in the net.
The statistical profile of this team is startling. During the European qualifiers, Czechia attempted 284 crosses. Yes, that was the highest volume of any nation. They also won 238 aerial duels, which again was the highest in the qualifiers.
Unbelievable.
They won 160 tackles and made 88 interceptions. What these numbers tell us is that they're actively choosing to bypass the midfield. They don't want the ball on the ground in the middle third of the pitch because they know they will lose it.
Okay, but here's what I don't understand, mechanically speaking.
Yeah.
If they are sitting in a deep 5-4-1 low block, practically inside their own penalty area, how on earth are they managing to get off 284 crosses?
That's the million-dollar question.
To cross the ball, you have to be in the opponent's final third. How do they transition from parking the bus to bombing the box?
That is the genius of their transition play, and it revolves heavily around their goalkeeper, Maciej Kovář.
Okay.
Kovář, who just won the Eredivisie with PSV Eindhoven, has phenomenal distribution. When Czechia wins the ball deep in their own half, They do not attempt to play short passes out of the back.
No tiki-taka here.
Absolutely none. Kovacs, or one of the center backs, acts almost like an NFL quarterback. They launch long, precise, diagonal balls over the opponent's midfield entirely.
They just bypass the press completely.
Exactly. And the targets for those long balls are either Patrick Schick holding up the play or the two wingbacks. That's Vladimir Kufal from Hoffenheim on the right and David Jurasik from Slavia Prague on the left.
So they just bomb forward.
The moment the ball is launched, Kufal and Jurasik sprint 50 yards up the touchline. The opponent's defense has to scramble backwards, the wingbacks collect the ball, and they immediately fire across into the box.
And why are they so desperate to cross the ball at every opportunity? Because of the absolute terrifying size of the players waiting in the box.
It's scary.
This is where the squad profiling gets wild. Look at the heights of their core players. You have striker Tomáš Tori standing at exactly 200 centimeters.
That's roughly 6'7".
Huge. Midfielder Tomáš Souček is 192 centimeters. Captain Ladislav Krejci is 191 centimeters. Patrick Schick is 191 centimeters.
It's an overwhelming physical mismatch against almost any opponent. When that cross comes in, it's not a tactical battle anymore. It's a sheer physics problem.
That isn't a football team. That is a basketball starting five.
Pretty much.
Imagine being an opposition defender.
Uh-huh.
You are like 5'10", trying to clear a corner kick, and four guys who are 6'3" or taller and built like linebackers are charging at you at full speed.
It's terrifying.
It's no wonder the stats show they scored a staggering 10 goals directly from set pieces, corners and free kicks during the qualifying campaign.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it perfectly masks their vulnerability.
Right.
Kubek knows his team cannot outpass technical giants. Spain or France would run rings around them in the center of the pitch. So he removes the center of the pitch from the equation.
Just takes it away entirely.
Right. Without the ball, the compressed 5-4-1 forces those technically superior teams out wide to the wings.
Because there's simply no space to pass through the middle.
Precisely. And what happens when a team is forced wide? They have no choice but to cross the ball into the box.
Which plays right into Czechia's hands.
Exactly. They are essentially baiting opponents into playing an aerial game against a team composed of giants. Czechia wants you to cross the ball because Krejci, Souček, and Chori are genetically and tactically designed to head it away all day long.
It's brilliantly cynical, but let me pose a hypothetical for you.
Sure.
I'm imagining playing against this wall of giants for 90 minutes, and it sounds physically exhausting. But what happens when they play a team that refuses to take the bait? What if an opponent decides, hey, we know you want us to cross it, so we aren't going to. We are going to keep the ball on the ground, making rapid, short, tight space passes right on the very edge of your penalty area until one of your massive defenders loses their balance or lunges in too late.
That's a valid concern.
Right.
Right.
Doesn't Czechia's total lack of technical midfield playmakers leave them completely stranded if they can't force the game into the air?
You've identified the exact Achilles heel of the Kubek system.
I thought so.
The low block is incredibly hard to break down, but it requires immense, sustained concentration. If an opponent possesses elite, tight-space dribblers, players who can rapidly shift their weight and provoke fouls in dangerous areas without ever resorting to crossing, the Czech defense can be dismantled.
Because large defenders struggle with rapid changes of direction.
Exactly. When the Czech players are forced to chase shadows on the edge of their own box for 70 minutes, lactic acid builds up, mental fatigue sets in, and because they lack the technical midfielders to hold onto the ball and relieve that pressure, the defense eventually cracks. A late, clumsy tackle leads to a penalty or a dangerous free kick.
Which means this hyper-physical system only functions if the personnel executing it on the pitch are willing to endure a massive amount of physical punishment and maintain perfect discipline.
That is the trade-off.
And that brings us to the players themselves. Let's look at the old guard, the intense club cohesion they rely on, and the absolute off-pitch drama swirling around this roster.
Oh, the drama.
Because you really can't talk about this squad's chances without talking about Patrick Schick.
Schick is the elite focal point of everything they do offensively.
Right.
Playing his club football for Bayer Leverkusen in Germany, he comes into this tournament with a phenomenal international record, 25 goals and 52 caps. He was the joint top scorer at Euro 2020.
That's huge.
What makes Schick special is that he isn't just a tall target man. He has the 191-centimeter frame to win aerial duels, but he also possesses elegant biomechanics.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
He has soft feet, excellent movement, and the ability to drop deep, receive the long ball from Kovar, and hold off defenders while the wingbacks sprint up the pitch.
The major variable with him, though, according to the medical reports in our sources, is his health.
Yeah, that's the big worry.
He is currently recovering from lingering calf and foot injuries. Given how much the entire attacking transition relies on him as the pivot point, his physical fitness is the single most important variable for Czechia's success.
No doubt.
If he can't run, the transition breaks down.
And right behind him, providing the engine that keeps the entire 5-4-1 block functioning, is Tomáš Souček.
Ah, West Ham United.
Currently at West Ham in the Premier League, yes. He has 89 international caps and 17 goals. Souček is a machine. He is relentless in his pressing, aerially dominant in both penalty boxes, and essentially acts as the emotional and physical anchor, dragging the team through difficult spells when they are pinned back.
Then you have the new captain, Ladislav Krejci.
Krejci is a fascinating figure in this tactical setup. He's a hard-tackling, ball-playing center back who recently moved from Girona to Wolverhampton Wanderers on a season-long loan.
Okay, so Premier League experience.
Exactly. He played over 2,300 minutes in the Premier League this past season, which means he is hardened to the exact kind of physical, fast-paced transitions he'll face at the World Cup.
Right.
He's the defensive anchor, winning the most possessions in the defensive third during UEFA qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
But uniquely for a center back, he is a massive threat going forward. He actually scored crucial goals in both of the playoff matches against Ireland and Denmark.
So the individual talent is there. But the thing that really jumps off the page when you look at these squad lists is the intense domestic cohesion.
Yes.
Out of the 26 players Kubek selected for this World Cup roster, 17 of them play in the Czech First League.
That's a huge percentage.
It is. And here is the truly staggering stat. 10 of those players come from the reigning domestic champions Slavia Prague alone.
Wow.
We are talking about Tomáš Holé, David Dudera, David Jurasek, Lukáš Pravod, Mojmír Čítal, and Tomáš Tori, all playing for the exact same club team.
From a managerial and tactical perspective, that is an unbelievable advantage. If you listen to international football managers, their biggest complaint is always a lack of training time.
Oh, for sure.
You get the players for maybe 3 or 4 days before a crucial match. Trying to teach 26 players from 26 different clubs a complex defensive structure in 4 days is nearly impossible.
They just don't have the spatial memory with each other.
Exactly. But Kubek doesn't have to build chemistry from scratch. He is literally lifting the defensive and midfield structures straight out of Slavia Prague and dropping them into the national team.
That's wild.
These players practice together every single day. They know exactly how their teammates move, who covers which zone when someone steps up to press, and the exact trajectory of each other's passes. It's a pre-built phalanx.
It's a massive built-in advantage, but, and this is a monumental but, it is not all harmony and telepathic passing in the locker room.
Not even close.
The sources we have detail some severe internal friction and controversy that threatens to derail the whole operation. We have to look at what is happening off the pitch because it is intense.
Very intense.
Let's start with Souček. We just talked about how he is the engine of the team. He was the captain, the undisputed leader, but he was actually stripped of the captaincy earlier in 2026.
Yes. And the context here highlights the immense pressure surrounding the national team. Following a 6-0 win over Gibraltar, the players, led by Souček, outright refused to go over to the stands and thank the traveling Czech fans.
Wait, why? You just won 6-0.
It was reportedly the boiling point of underlying tensions between the players and the supporters. During the disastrous run under Hašek, the fans had been heavily critical, occasionally booing the team. The players felt abandoned.
Ah, I see.
However, the Czech Football Association stepped in and publicly sided with the fans. The FA released a statement saying the supporters traveled a long way, had a full right to express their previous frustrations, and the players were obligated to thank them.
So they threw the players under the bus.
Pretty much. As a direct disciplinary result of leading the boycott, Souček was removed as captain and the armband was handed to Krejci.
That alone is a massive distraction to bring into a World Cup camp. You have a deposed captain still running the midfield. But it gets even crazier when you look at the Slavia Prague contingent.
It really does.
Kubek made an incredibly controversial decision to select 2 players, Tomáš Šuri and David Dudera, who had just been indefinitely suspended and transfer listed by their own club.
The background there involves a highly volatile Prague derby match between Slavia Prague and Sparta Prague. It is one of the most intense rivalries in European football.
It's legendary.
The match descended into complete chaos. Both Tori and Dudier received red cards for violent conduct, And the situation escalated to the point where fans invaded the pitch to assault opposition players.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Slavia Prague's chairman publicly condemned the incident as a total disgrace and exiled the players from the club facility.
Yet despite them being exiled, publicly condemned, and completely lacking match practice, Kubek calls them up for the World Cup anyway.
He did.
Think about the dynamic here. I look at this squad and I see a classic dysfunctional rock band that constantly fights backstage.
Great analogy.
They are throwing chairs at each other in the green room. The lead singer isn't speaking to the drummer. Management is furious. But the absolute second the stage lights hit, they go out and play perfectly in sync.
That's the hope, at least.
But I have to push back on Kubek's logic here. Does bringing suspended, highly aggressive players into a high-pressure, month-long World Cup camp risk blowing up the locker room entirely?
It's a risk.
You are trapped in hotels together, tensions run high. Or does Kubek look at them and think, yes, that's exactly the kind of unhinged aggression I need to make my low block terrifying?
It is entirely the latter. Kubek is not managing a team of diplomats. He's managing a team of disruptors.
Disruptors, right.
He prioritizes physical imposition and aggressive dueling over perfect locker room harmony. He knows his tactical blueprint requires players who are willing to cross the line to make the opposition physically uncomfortable, to fight for every single inch of grass.
And Churi fits that bill.
Exactly. Corey, at 200 centimeters, isn't there to play elegant passes. He is a physical battering ram. Dudia is a relentless, aggressive wingback.
So it's a feature, not a bug.
Kubek is making a calculated bet that the shared singular goal of World Cup survival will force the band to play together, at least for 90 minutes at a time. He needs enforcers, and he doesn't care about their club politics.
It's a massive gamble, but even Kubek seems to realize that you can't just have bouncers in the club.
Right.
You can't just rely on giants to head the ball and enforcers to kick ankles. If you are trailing 1-0 in the 75th minute, you need someone who can actually pick a lock instead of trying to bash the door down.
You definitely do.
And that leads us to a really surprising element of this squad, the injection of fresh, highly technical blood, the next generation, the technical scalpels.
Exactly. To counter their glaring weakness in open play creativity and ground passing, Kubek has integrated two young, highly technical talents who offer a completely different profile to the rest of the squad.
Who are we talking about?
25-year-old Pavel Solk and 17-year-old Hugo Socherek.
Let's start with Olk. This guy has been on an absolute tear. He just recently secured a massive move to the French club Lyon for around 7.5 million euros.
Which is a huge move for him.
This comes after an incredible domestic season with Vitoria Plitch, where he scored 15 goals and provided 9 assists. And to top it off, he won the 2025 Czech Ballon, the Footballer of the Year award.
A phenomenal year.
So mechanically, what does a player like that bring to a team that actively tries to bypass the midfield?
Oak brings chaos to the opposition's defensive structure. He operates as a traditional attacking midfielder, a number 10, playing in the pockets of space between the opponent's midfield and defensive lines.
Okay, so he sits right in that gap.
While the rest of the Czech team is looking to launch long balls, Olk is the rare player who actually wants the ball at his feet in tight, contested spaces. He has excellent creative vision, he presses aggressively from the front to force turnovers, and as his stats show, he is clinical in front of goal.
He showed that in the qualifiers, right?
Yeah, he scored twice against Ukraine in the Nations League and scored a vital goal against Denmark in that crucial World Cup playoff. He provides the connective tissue between the defensive block and the striker that they desperately lack elsewhere.
And then there's Hugo Socherek. I was reading his profile in the data packet, and I legitimately had to double-check the birth year.
It's shocking, isn't it?
He was born on June 7, 2008. The kid is 17 years old. He plays for Sparta Prague, and he just became the youngest debutant in Czech national team history, playing 45 minutes in their final warm-up friendly win over Kosovo.
What's fascinating here is how entirely countercultural his play style is compared to the rest of Kubek's squad.
What do you mean by countercultural?
Well, in a team that is fundamentally built on mileage, raw physical duels, winning tackles, and launching crosses, Kubek has called up a 17-year-old central midfielder who relies almost entirely on elite spatial awareness and ground passing. If we look at the foot mob statistics from his club season, he maintained a remarkable 93.1% passing accuracy over 511 minutes of professional play. He doesn't physically overpower you. He passes around you. He is an absolute anomaly on this roster.
Here's where it gets really interesting for you, the listener. Think about the tactical flexibility this gives a pragmatic manager like Kubek.
Oh, it's immense.
These two players, Ulk and Socherek, are his ultimate plan B. If the opposition manages to neutralize the crossing game, if the towering giants up front are being heavily marked by equally tall center backs, and the sledgehammer just isn't working, well, Kubek can look to his bench and bring out the scalpels.
Precisely. Having a plan B is essential in a World Cup tournament structure. You cannot expect to play a minimum of 3 group stage matches against wildly different opponents with single, one-dimensional strategy.
It never works.
Right. So Czech might only be 17, but his ability to retain possession and dictate the tempo of the game could be crucial in the final 20 minutes of a tight match. When the Giants are exhausted from chasing the ball in a low block, bringing on a player with 93% passing accuracy allows the team to actually hold the ball, catch their breath, and control the closing stages of the game.
And speaking of those group stage matches, let's look at exactly what this team is facing. Armed with this bizarre mix of towering, aggressive giants, intense internal club drama, and teenage technical prodigies, we need to turn our attention to how this squad will actually survive the gauntlet that is Group A.
Group A presents a fascinating mix of tactical styles and severe geographic challenges.
Let's hear it.
Czechia has been drawn alongside South Korea, South Africa, and the tournament co-hosts, Mexico. And the schedule itself presents massive physical hurdles for a European team accustomed to playing near sea level.
Let's break this down match by match, starting with June 11th against South Korea. This game is being played at the Estadio Akron in Guadalajara, Mexico. The immediate threat here isn't just the South Korean players, it's the environment.
The altitude is a killer.
Guadalajara sits at 1,566 meters above sea level. That is over 5,000 feet. The air is thin. For a team built on relentless defensive running and absorbing pressure, that altitude is going to burn their lungs.
The altitude is a severe physiological factor. During a 90-minute match, the reduced oxygen levels accelerate lactic acid buildup in the muscles, leading to faster fatigue.
And against South Korea, that's a huge problem.
Exactly. Historically, South Korea plays a high-tempo, fast transition game. They look to exploit spaces left behind by defenses, attacking with incredible speed down the wings. If you try to press them high up the pitch at 1,566 meters, you'll be physically empty by the 60th minute.
Do they have a history against South Korea?
We know from historical data that Czechia struggles against this style. They lost to South Korea 2-1 back in 2016.
Looking at those factors, the Korean pace and the high altitude, it seems like Kubek's system is actually somewhat insulated against it. If they sit deep, they aren't sprinting back and forth as much, right?
Exactly. The tactical discipline of the 5-4-1 low block is their saving grace here. By sitting deep, they deny the Korean wingers the space to accelerate into.
You can't run in behind if there's no behind.
Right. The Korean players rely on open grass behind the defensive line. Kubek will ensure there is no grass behind the line. Offensively, Czechia will bypass the midfield entirely, using Kovai's long distribution to target Schick and exploit the physical mismatches against South Korean center backs, who are traditionally smaller. It's about surviving the environment as much as the opponent.
Okay, moving on to June 18th. Match 2 against South Africa. This one is taking place indoors at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. No altitude, climate control.
It's a relief for the players.
Definitely. And from everything we are seeing in the tactical analysis, this is being categorized as an absolute must-win for the Czechs if they want to advance out of the group.
It is the pivotal match of the group for them. South Africa is a well-organized, defensively sound side, but they traditionally struggle against tall, physically imposing opponents who dominate the aerial game in the penalty box.
Which is exactly what Czechia does.
This is the match where Kubek's system is perfectly designed to succeed. You can expect Czechia to push their defensive line slightly higher, dominate possession more than they usually would, and unleash an absolute barrage of high-volume crosses from Kufal and Jurasik, aiming directly for Souček, Krejci, Chori, and Schick.
Just bombarding them.
Exactly. If their set-piece routines are clicking, the sheer physics of the matchup suggests Czechia should overpower them.
But then comes the ultimate test, June 24th. Match 3 against Mexico. And not just against Mexico, but at the iconic Estadio Azteca in Mexico City.
Oh boy.
We are talking about an extreme altitude of 2,240 meters, over 7,300 feet. A wildly hostile, deafening home crowd of over 80,000 people screaming for the co-hosts.
It's intimidating.
And it's against a Mexican team that loves to dominate possession and utilize intricate passing. That sounds like an absolute nightmare scenario for a team that already struggles to hold on to the ball.
It is the most difficult fixture in the group, by a wide margin, and honestly one of the toughest assignments in the entire tournament. Mexico will dictate the tempo, utilizing their technical midfielders to control the game, shift the ball rapidly, and tire out the opposition in the thin air.
So what does Czechia do?
In this environment, at that altitude, Kubek will have no choice but to deploy the most extreme version of his tactics. They will park the bus, they will deploy the deepest, most rigid 5-4-1 block possible, completely concede possession, conserve their physical energy, and simply hope to frustrate the Mexican attackers.
It's not going to be pretty.
No, the objective will not be to win beautifully. The objective will be to survive, weather the storm, and perhaps steal a point via a late counterattack spearheaded by Hulk, or a perfectly executed corner kick against the run of play.
So, looking at those three distinct tactical and physical challenges, let's review what the odds makers are saying.
What are the numbers?
The betting lines currently have Czechia at plus 225 to win Group A, making them the second favorites behind Mexico. But more importantly, they are sitting at a massive 9-400 to qualify for the round of 32. That implies an 80% probability that they get out of the group.
The bookmakers clearly respect the pragmatic nature of Kubek's system and the relative weaknesses of the group overall.
It seems like a safe bet.
The consensus is that while they likely won't overcome the environmental and technical hurdles against Mexico for the top spot, their physicality should see them past South Africa, and their defensive rigidity should allow them to grind out a result against South Korea to secure second place.
So what does this all mean? Think about this context. If you've been waiting 20 years to get back to this stage, is just surviving the group stage actually enough?
That's a great question.
They have the pedigree of finalists from the Czechoslovakian era. They have players who just won league titles across Europe. Is a round of 32 exit going to satisfy the fans back in Prague, or does it just feel like another failure?
It's a complex question of expectations versus reality. For the fans who watched the team lose to the Faroe Islands just over a year ago, simply stabilizing the ship, surviving the group stage, and reaching the knockouts would be viewed as a monumental success.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It validates Kubek's crisis management. But the reality of tournament football is that as you progress into the knockout rounds, the level of technical opposition increases drastically, which highlights Czechia's underlying flaws. They won't be able to physically bully a team like Germany or Argentina.
It really is the ultimate paradox of the 2026 Czechia team. And as we wrap up this deep dive, let's summarize the core identity of this squad.
Okay, let's do it.
They are a team heavily burdened by the ghosts of a 20-year absence from the World Cup. They are relying on aging, physically imposing, and sometimes highly controversial giants.
Very true.
Their entire tactical identity leans heavily on bypassing the midfield, launching long balls, and praying for set pieces. Yet, despite how archaic that sounds, they are completely capable of surviving brutal, high-pressure conditions.
Thanks to the injection of teenage technical prodigies like Soshore and the elite, unshakable mental resilience they forged in the playoff fires against Ireland and Denmark.
Exactly.
And, that mental resilience brings me to a final, rather chilling thought regarding their potential in the knockout stages.
Whoa, what's that?
As we noted, the bookies predict a swift round of 32 exit once they face a superior team. But remember the game theory we discussed earlier. Knockout football is fundamentally about survival. It is not about style, possession stats, or beautiful passes.
It is about not losing.
Yes, it is about not losing. If this towering, physically abusive team, a team that has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they possess nerves of absolute steel from the penalty spot, manages to drag a technical giant like Spain, England, or France into a miserable, muddy 0-0 grind for 120 exhausted minutes.
Oh man, the panic that would set in for those favorites.
Exactly. If you are a world-class team and you let the clock hit 120 minutes against Kubek's squad, who is going to bet against the Czechs in a penalty shootout.
That is a terrifying prospect for any tournament favorite. You finally get to the party, you think you own the room, and suddenly you realize the bouncers from the door have locked everyone inside and are taking over the dance floor.
It's going to be wild.
Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the Czechia national team. Be sure to keep a very close eye on the Ripper when the tournament kicks off. Their football might not always be aesthetically pleasing, but it is guaranteed to be unforgettable. Keep diving deep.